Chapter 7, The Dirty Business of Soap. Mac was a fast learner. He was fast in learning the business when he worked for the Newman Soap Company. He was fast in opening his own business as soon as he was able to set it up. He was fast in learning the ins and outs of the soap business. He was part of the generation that pioneered the business. Mac said, "You must work faster and work harder than others. If you do not, then you are useless." He was even fast at sex in the same way he was at business. Always a calculating businessman. He attached no emotions in any enterprise. Sex was no different for him. He wanted his sex fast and furious. He did not want the slow and romantic type. He did not want to waste his money or time. Sex was merely an expression of the animalistic side of man, the part of the original beast that remained in the centuries of evolution. Nothing about sex was refined or gentle. For Mac, man must have sex like a lion. A lion does not have foreplay with his mate. A lion does not have a pause play with his mate. A lion merely conquers the female lion in a fast and furious encounter. Once the lion is finished, he moves on. Mac conquers his sexual prey in much the same way he conquers his competitors and his customers. He is the lion in his business despite its being smaller than the other soap companies. He can find ways to be faster than his competitors. He will always be as ruthless as a lion in the business field as he is in the sex field. As good as Mac was in observing his competitors, he was better in devising ways to make more profit than others. Mac has always said that one has to do everything himself. He literally meant it. The important aspects of the business was done by Mac himself. After he got married, the cash and receipts were handled by his wife, Crystal. As soon as Ashley was able to do math in school, she was required to do cash and receipts in the business. Mac said, "If your employee work harder and think smarter than you, then you will be your boss." Mac made sure that his employees only knew certain aspects of the job. He made sure they did not know the entire business. He learned these lessons from Newman Soap Company because the owner had underestimated him. Mac learned all aspects of Newman's business model. He learned purchasing, inventory, accounting, sales, marketing, profiting, and taxation. He quickly set up his own improved version of the soap business. In order for his employees not to know what was really going on, Mac did the real accounting work himself. This was done on the 10th floor of his building. This was his family home too. No one was allowed in or out of this floor except his immediate family members. On this floor, there was a locked study room. This was where Mac did his own accounting. This is where Mac makes his money in the same way as Bernie Madoff made his. No one was allowed to enter the 17th floor of the building that Bernie was operating out of. That was where Bernie kept all his secrets. That was where Bernie generated all his sales and receipts reports. Some people are smarter than others. Mac was smarter than most others. Mac found the bootleg printer. This printer was willing to print a second set of bootleg official receipts with the same numbers. He was even willing to print a third set of bootleg official receipts with the same numbers. Mac was using these bootleg receipts to underreport his true sales. In this way, Mac would be paying less tax to the government. Mac would rely on this printer till this day. Not one of his employees knew this was going on. Mac had to handle this aspect of the business himself. He had to order his frontline accounting and billing office to issue receipts to customers. No employee knew whether he was using the real receipts or the counterfeit receipts. They were mere data entry personnel following Mac's instructions. They had to turn in their daily work. In this way, the employees never kept track of Mac. In this way, the employees started with a clean slate every day they reported for work. Mac counted the Chinese saying, "You must do everything yourself. The only thing you must not do yourself is die." Since most of Mac's employees were not too smart, he had to rant and shout at most of them. He had to force a strict discipline on them. Mac said, "If you do not fill up the employee's workload, then the employee would learn laziness." Mac would make sure to hire the cheapest employees. He also preferred the employees who were not too smart. The employees who worked for Mac also did not care for more than what they were tasked to do. Whenever Mac got to hire a smart employee, he had to keep a hawk eye on him. He was fearful that this smart employee might smell what was really going on. He was fearful that some evidence may leak out to the government. That is why everything important was on the 10th floor. This floor was off limits to all employees, suppliers, and customers. Mac's excuse was that it was his personal space. It was his home. Mac treasured his privacy. Mac would ferry out the troublemakers and taught his family, "This one's too smart. He is smart in a bad way. This person can hurt us." His family learned how to have the eye to spot potential troublemakers. These are the workers who may instigate labor unrest or industrial action. These are also the workers who may steal stock or information. Finally, these may be the workers who turn whistleblowers and ruin everything for the thieves. Mac made sure the real accounting was done on the 10th floor at night. He worked hard during the day to make as much sales as possible. Most nights, he would have dinner at home. Rarely, he would go out on weeknights. Mac would go out only to have dinner or attend social functions when it was absolutely necessary. Usually, these events would keep Mac's image respectable. Mac said, "You have to outthink, outsmart, and outwork everybody else. When everybody's relaxing, you can outdo them." At the end of one day, I would have made a little more than others. At the end of a year, I would have made a lot more than others. At the end of the lifetime, I would have outdone almost everybody else. Mac said, society is very practical. Respect in the society is given to the person who has money. If you have no money, then you have no respect. The study room on the 10th floor was the actual headquarters of Mac's business operations. It was the heart and soul of the entire operation. Mac knew exactly what was going on every night. As the children were growing up, he inculcated in them a work ethic that was very efficient. Each child was to learn actual accounting work in the headquarters. Employees only learned superficial accounting work done on the ground floor office. Crystal never did accounting work. She never knew how much money was actually made. Mac claimed she did not have a brain for numbers. His son, Joey, learned only certain aspects of the accounting work. He was always more interested in making more money, which was always never enough for him. So, at night, Joey would plan the marketing and sales routes for the next day. Joey's sister, Ashley, was quick to pick up the task that he did not want to do. Ashley quickly learned and performed accounting for her father, which immediately impressed the old man. Eventually, Louisa, Miranda, and Samantha would help out with accounting work, but no sibling truly knew how much the total sums were. They only knew what was done and accounted for at the end of each day. Only Mac knew the real picture. Samantha complied with the minimum accounting work that was required of her. She would go kiss Mac every night, lavishing the most affection on her father. Mac said, "You cannot let employees be too knowledgeable. If they know too much, then they can be their own bosses and compete against you. You must watch out for those employees who can be trained and utilized by your business. They will be beneficial to you, but you must always scold them to remind them who is boss. If you fail to scold them, then they will grow arrogant. Constant scolding will keep these employees in check and will keep them from being complacent. There is never such a thing as too much scolding. Scolding will also keep the employees' pride down. You do not want them to have too much pride." Mac made sure that the salespeople knew only about the sales and nothing else. He made sure that the accounting people only did what they were instructed to account for, and that they issued the right receipts to the right customers. Mac made sure the delivery people only knew what and where they were supposed to deliver the goods, and that the inventory was counted under strict supervision of Mac or Crystal. As the children were growing up, they took over this aspect too. Initially, it was Joey. Then, it was Ashley. Then, it was Louisa. Then, it was Miranda. Finally, it was Samantha. Inventory was taken in and out of the warehouse only under strict supervision of family members. Samantha loved this menial aspect of the business. She knew she was destined for greater things, but it was these menial things that Mac and his family needed to supervise so that no employee would have actual records of what was going on. As the business grew, Mac had to buy a warehouse in Cebu. Cebu is the second largest city and the second trade hub in the Philippines. No employee truly knew how much soap was delivered or how much soap was actually transferred to another warehouse. Mac liked his employees to show up for work each day and go home without worrying about work. He made sure they did not know the real figures. He kept his employees separate so that they would not add up the real sums. In the same way, Mac kept the government guessing how much was actually sold. The tax collectors were confused as to how much was transferred to other warehouses or sold. Confusion was the name of the game. Only Mac knew the real figures. Only Mac did the actual figures on the 10th floor of his own building. To have an idea of how much Mac was saving on taxes, one must have an idea of how confused everybody really was. Mac was only reporting 2% of actual sales. 98% was bootleg sales. He was able to get away with it. Everybody was confused. Mac was master of the confusion game. What really went on? The majority of the actual sales were recorded in the bootleg receipts. These bootleg receipts were never reported to the government. The minority of actual sales were recorded in the original or actual official receipts. At night, Mac would shred all these bootleg receipts. He would only file them until actual payment was received. He extended minimum credit for reliable old customers. These were his minimum accounts receivables. Since no bootleg receipts were ever found, no one knew exactly how much Mac actually sold. The 10th floor headquarters was where Mac siphoned off the profits to offshore bank accounts. This was done to make sure the tax authorities would have no way to prove Mac has made more money than he declared. There was no more physical cash more than necessary to show tax auditors. There was no more physical assets such as buildings or warehouses than necessary to show the government. There were no more luxury vehicles than necessary to show society. These were justified at the sales level Mac was making officially. He had a taste for Volvos. Mac had several Volvos, including a Volvo limousine. Once every few years, some smart tax auditors may smell something suspicious or wrong about the volume of inter-warehouse transfers Mac was doing. Whenever Mac would be questioned, he would quickly brush it off. He would show these auditors a good time at social functions. He would be seen chatting with their tax auditing bosses. They would see how respectable Mac was in the business community. Finally, when that did not work, Mac would invite these auditors to a private room and offer them a reward. Cash was the language of the reward. Cash spoke louder than words. There was never any evidence of cash after the bribe had been made. No questions were asked afterwards. This is, in a way, similar to Bernie Madoff's Confusion game. Bernie was highly visible in the elite social circles. He was present in trade group meetings. He chaired a lot of them. Mac was a director in Soap Industry Trade Association every year since he started his business. He was president of the Soap Industry Trade Association for 2 consecutive years. He continues to be a director till this day. Mac was an active member of his Chinese association. He donated money to build schools in China. He was able to buy respect. His business appeared very respectable too. No one questioned what really went on. No one had an idea of what really went on. No one suspected anything. It was always business as usual. Mac boasted to his visitors and friends from other countries, "Only in the Philippines can I make money." Mac would teach his children, "If you go to America or other developed countries that you can sleep safe and feel comfortable, then you cannot make money because the government and tax system are developed. You will sleep well and stay poor. If you do business in an underdeveloped country that you cannot sleep safely or feel peaceful, then there is opportunity to make money because the government is corrupt and the tax systems are still underdeveloped." Mac often said, "Why would I live in America? I only go to America for travel and medical checkups. I cannot make money there. You cannot make money in America. You can only make money in the Philippines."